This whole thing still feels like a bizarre fever dream, but here I am, sitting with a drink in one hand and my wedding ring in the other, telling this sad story, or maybe just validation that I'm not insane. My name's Logan. I have been married to my wife Tara for 7 years. She's a teacher, charming, assertive, always needs to be right. You know the type. I'm a mechanical engineer. We were that couple people envied at barbecues, matching flannel at Christmas, 2 rescue dogs, and a mortgage that screamed, "We've got our act together." Then there's my older brother, Jerry. Yeah, he's 36, a part-time taxi driver with big dreams and even bigger failures. Always chasing the next big thing and somehow tripping over his own shoelaces. He's got this rugged, disheveled vibe going, like a discount Indiana Jones, but apparently that does it for some people. Spoiler, some people include my wife. Now, don't get me wrong. I always thought Tara was a little too friendly with Jerry. He's just lonely, she'd say. He's your brother. We should include him more. Yeah, sure. I thought I was being a good husband and a good brother, until things started to feel off. It started with Tara laughing way too hard at Jerry's dumb jokes. He's not even funny. Then came the late-night texts. Jerry just needed someone to talk to. Right. Because Uber drivers don't have therapists. The kicker? The little red flag that finally pushed me to check the security camera I installed in the garage, long story involving raccoons and my lawnmower, was a used toothpick on the passenger seat of my car. I never use toothpicks. Tara doesn't either. But Jerry? He chews them like a madman. I checked the footage, expecting maybe a neighbor messing around or Tara grabbing something from the car. Nope. What I saw was my brother and my wife sharing a moment that should have never happened, especially not in my car. That was the night my stomach dropped, my worldview shattered, and I found out that betrayal doesn't always come with a bang. Sometimes, it shows up in the form of a toothpick and a poorly lit clip. So, what did I do next? I didn't confront them, yet. Instead, I played dumb and started watching everything, like a hawk in a flannel shirt. And I pretended nothing had changed, even though every "I love you" she threw my way felt like poison. The worst part? Jerry came over the next day and had the audacity to ask for gas money. My bro was seeing my wife behind my back and still asked me for a 10 spot to fill up his 2003 Corolla. Anyway, I've got recordings, footage, the whole nine, and a confrontation brewing like a ticking time bomb. I'm trying to stay cool, but I don't know how long I can keep this up. The morning after I caught that damn toothpick incident on camera, I woke up early, sweaty, heart pounding, and clinging to the hope that maybe I was dreaming. But no, reality hit hard. I decided to play it cool, or at least try for now. I made my way to the kitchen, where Tara was already up and humming a tune that screamed normal morning. She looked radiant, like nothing was ever wrong. I couldn't help but notice how she meticulously arranged the breakfast spread, pancakes, eggs, and even fresh orange juice, as if she were hosting a 5-star brunch rather than feeding a husband who was busy unraveling the betrayal of his life. I sat down at the table, trying not to let the tension show on my face. I forced a smile as Tara slid into the opposite seat, her eyes meeting mine with a mixture of innocence and calculated charm. "Good morning, honey. I made your favorite blueberry pancakes," she chirped, as if our life together was still a picture-perfect sitcom. Before I could muster a response, Jerry strolled in, late for his own ride. By the way, still in his taxi driver swag, carrying a bag of takeout from the diner he claimed to be hitting up for breakfast. He gave me a casual nod, but I knew that nod was laced with something more. During breakfast, conversation flowed in a surreal loop of mundane small talk. Tara made vague comments about her early morning errands, dodging any reference to the previous night. Jerry, on the other hand, kept laughing at his own lame jokes, as if trying to drown out the underlying tension with cheap humor. Midway through the meal, I noticed something odd. While Tara was continuously refilling our coffee cups, her phone buzzed incessantly on the counter. The screen lit up with messages from a number I didn't recognize. I couldn't resist. Curiosity and the need for confirmation were my only driving forces at that point. I discreetly picked up the phone as Tara looked away to get more syrup for the pancakes. My heart sank as I read a string of messages, innuendos, private jokes, and plans that weren't meant for my eyes. One message caught my attention. "Tonight, let's really make it count," from someone calling himself Big Smooth. I froze. That was definitely not me or any harmless buddy. I confronted Tara immediately after breakfast, voice low. "Care to explain these messages, Tara?" She blinked, her facade momentarily cracking. First, there was a flash of panic, then a rehearsed smile as she said, "Oh, those? Just work-related stuff. You know how chaotic things can get. I wasn't buying it. My mind raced back to the toothpick, the secret camera footage, and now her phone blowing up like a firecracker. Before I could push further, Jerry interjected with an offhand, "Hey, man, maybe you should relax. It was just a misunderstanding. I mean, Tara wouldn't really do that, would she?" His tone was light, but the implication was clear. He was trying to cover his tracks while stoking the fire of doubt. The air was so tense, it felt like even the walls were holding their breath. I decided to step away for a minute, retreating to the living room to cool my boiling anger. As I sat alone, the myriad of conflicting emotions surged through me. My wife's betrayal, my brother's disloyalty, the humiliation of being blindsided by the two people I trusted most. It didn't just sting, it swallowed me whole. I felt a storm brewing inside me, somewhere between heartbreak and fury. I knew a confrontation was imminent, and this time there would be no dodging. My mind was already plotting my next move, one that would force the truth into the open without resorting to impulsive violence. I resolved to gather more evidence, listen to every whispered conversation, every sidelong glance between Tara and Jerry, until I had a full picture of how deep the charade went. I decided to test her psychologically. I left the house early, told her I had to be in the city for work. Truth was, I parked my car a few blocks away and circled back on foot. I'd set up a security camera on the side of our house, aimed at the driveway. Jerry's car, the rusted-out silver Camry that always smelled like burritos and lost dreams, would be my evidence. 10:12 a.m. Ding. Motion alert. I pulled out my phone. And there it was. Jerry, wearing that same leather jacket he thinks makes him look like a rock star, pulling into my driveway like he owned the place. I waited. 15 minutes. Then 20. Then 30. And then I walked right in the front door. The look on their faces? Worth it. Tara jumped off the couch like it was on fire. Jerry froze mid-sip of orange juice. My orange juice. "Logan," she gasped. You're home early?" "Yeah," I said, dropping my keys. "Guess I just wanted to talk. But hey, don't let me interrupt." Looks like Jerry settled in nicely. Jerry stood, rubbing his neck like that would make him invisible. "Hey, bro. I was just dropping something off. In your undergarments?" I asked, pointing to the fact he had no shoes, no belt, and his shirt was buttoned all wrong, like a man who got dressed during an earthquake. Tara jumped in. "Logan, you're being paranoid again." "Am I?" I walked to the coffee table and picked up the mug he was drinking from. "You made him coffee?" "It's just coffee," she snapped. "Right? And I guess the camera footage is just another one of my hallucinations. Because I've got clips of Jerry sneaking in and out of this house like some off-brand James Bond." Jerry stammered, "Okay, look. Maybe I shouldn't have come over." I cut him off. "You think?" Tara grabbed my arm. "Can we talk? Alone?" Jerry, the walking stereotype of a guilty man, took the hint and shuffled out like a scolded child. We stood in silence for a second. Then she spoke. "Logan, I don't know how we got here." "Don't play victim," I said. "You invited this." She looked away. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Jerry was just, he was there when you weren't." My voice cracked a little. "You know, I trusted you. I would have done anything for you." Her eyes welled up. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "But you did," I said. "And you lied. Over and over." She sniffed and crossed her arms. "You're not exactly perfect either. You're emotionally distant. You spend all your time fixing things or tinkering in that garage." "I was building a life for us," I snapped. "You wanted stability, remember? I gave it to you." We stood there, the tension so thick it could have choked an elephant. "Are you in love with him?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer. That was enough. "Pack a bag, Tara," I said. "You're staying with your mom tonight. I need space. I need oxygen." She nodded slowly and turned toward the bedroom. "And I?" I sat down, pulled out my phone, and started calling divorce attorneys. The next morning, Jerry sent me a text. "Can we talk? Man to man." "Oh sure, Jerry. Let's have a heart-to-heart. Maybe over coffee?" "Want to borrow my car again so you can drive over," I replied. But I was curious. What does a guy say to his brother after wrecking his marriage? I told him to meet me at the diner we used to go to as kids' neutral ground. 11 a.m. I showed up 15 minutes early. He showed up 5 minutes late. Classic Jerry. He slid into the booth wearing sunglasses indoors. Real subtle. "Logan," he said, like we were catching up after a fishing trip. "I appreciate you agreeing to meet." "You've got 5 minutes," I said, not touching my coffee. He nodded, took off the shades, and leaned in like we were spies exchanging intel. Look, man, I didn't plan any of this. Tara and we clicked. Emotionally. Oh, good, I said. Emotionally. I was worried it was just physical. That makes it so much better. He winced. Don't do that. Do what? Call out the fact that you're messing around with my wife and trying to wrap it in therapy buzzwords. He ran a hand through his hair. She said you've been distant. That she felt alone. Jerry, I said flatly. If every person who felt distant in their marriage got involved with their sibling spouse, we'd all be living in a soap opera. He held his hands up. I didn't come here to fight. No? Then what did you come here for? He looked away, suddenly awkward. I was hoping maybe we could. I don't know. Work through it. I laughed. Out loud. People turned to stare. You mean I work through it, while you keep sneaking into my house? That's not fair, he mumbled. What's not fair is finding out my brother, the guy who crashed on my couch for 6 weeks last year, is now trying to build a future with my wife. Silence. Then Jerry leaned forward again. She told me she might leave you. I just blinked. You think I care who leaves who? We're done. I told her last night. I've already started the process. That caught him off guard. Wait, you're divorcing her? No. Jerry, I'm taking her to Disney World. Yes, I'm divorcing her. He sank back into the booth like the air had been knocked out of him. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it, he muttered. You clearly don't know me anymore, I said. Or maybe you never did. And then, as I stood to leave, I hit him with this. You know, Tara told me you were a good listener. I wonder if she'll still think that when you can't afford a 2-bedroom apartment, let alone her lifestyle. His face turned red. I'm working on getting a better gig. I've got a buddy who runs a rideshare startup. Jerry, I said, putting a couple bucks on the table for my untouched coffee. I walked out of that diner without looking back, feeling weirdly lighter. Not good, but lighter. Like I had finally popped the blister instead of just living with the pressure. But that was just round 1. Round 2. That night, I got an email from an unknown address. You should know what she's planning. Attached was an audio file. And what I heard in that recording. I put on headphones and hit play. What I heard was Tara. And someone else, definitely not Jerry. Some girlfriend of hers, maybe? Voice sounded familiar. Probably Jessica, the work friend she always claimed was single and a little crazy. Tara said the one sentence that made my stomach drop. I've got Logan so wrapped up, he won't see it coming. He's not going to divorce me. Not until I've got what I need. What do you mean? The friend asked. Half of everything, Jess. I've been slowly prepping it for months. The bank accounts. The investments. He still thinks it went into home repairs. They both laughed. And then came the part that felt like a gut punch. And if Jerry messes this up by getting all clingy or saying too much, I won't hesitate to cut ties. The file ended with Tara saying she just needs another month or 2. Now listen, I'm not a perfect man, but I'm not a fool. I replayed that audio 3 times, pacing the living room like a detective in an interrogation room. Suddenly, the fog cleared. This wasn't just betrayal. It seemed like a coordinated financial approach with questionable intent. She wasn't torn or confused. She was calculating, using Jerry for emotional cover and me as a financial exit plan. So what did I do? I called my buddy Nate. He's an IT guy with a side hustle in digital forensics. Told him I needed the audio enhanced and timestamped. He said, "You finally catching her in a lie?" "You could say that," I replied. Next, I called my lawyer. Told him to draft an emergency motion to freeze joint accounts and pull full transaction histories. I wanted to see exactly what Tara had been doing. By morning, we had enough to freeze everything and get a temporary restraining order on financial movement. Turns out that equity loan was real. She drained over $12,000 into an account I didn't even know existed. By the time Tara got back from yoga, I was sitting at the table with a neat stack of printed documents, the audio file loaded and ready to go. She walked in, kicked off her shoes, and did that chirpy "Hey babe" nonsense. "Tara," I said, "sit down." She froze. "Why? What's going on?" "Sit down." She did. Slowly, warily. Then I pressed play. The room filled with her voice. Her giggles. Her plans. When I saw her face contort, like she knew exactly what came next. When it ended, I slid the papers across the table. These are the loan documents. The secret account. The emails. The withdrawal logs. And the motion from my attorney freezing everything. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. "You played the long game, Tara. I'll give you credit. But you forgot who I am. I'm not just some good person you can string along while playing house with my brother. I didn't mean, Logan. I hit. You meant every word. I snapped. You wanted half? Now you'll at least to get 10%. She tried to cry. Actually tried to summon tears. I stood up. You need to leave, I said. But I have nowhere to go, she protested. Then called Jerry. Let's see how long it takes for him to realize he's next on your little chessboard. I walked upstairs, packed a bag, and went to a hotel. Let her sit in that silence. Then called Jerry. Let's see how long it takes for him to realize he's next on your little chessboard. I walked upstairs, packed a bag, and went to a hotel. Let her sit in that silence. So there I was, holed up in a modest hotel room, with one bag of clothes, 2 dogs at my feet. And then came the group chat. See, Tara didn't know I was still in our shared family group text with my side of the family. We used it to organize birthdays, holidays, and occasionally send memes of Jerry failing at something. That morning, she decided to do some damage control. Here's what she sent. Hi everyone. I just wanted to let you know Logan and I are going through a rough patch. Please respect our privacy. She added a heart emoji. A heart emoji. Naturally, my phone exploded. My mom called. Then my cousin. My uncle, who barely texts, sent, what the heck? I let it simmer for an hour. Then I dropped. Hey fam. Since we're being open, Tara's been having an affair with Jerry. She made financial decisions behind my back, ones that crossed personal and legal boundaries. I've filed for divorce. Evidence available upon request. Let's just say Thanksgiving's gonna be real weird this year. Anyway, after detonating the group chat, I decided it was time for phase 2. Reclaim my life. First up, the house. I didn't want it. Too many ghosts. But I wasn't about to let her keep it either, not when she tried to sneak out equity behind my back. My lawyer filed an emergency motion to compel her to vacate within 30 days. Meanwhile, I started working with a realtor to prep it for sale the moment she was out. Next, now I'm not one for drama, but I also wasn't going to let Tara rewrite history with teary stories and cryptic posts about healing. So I created a document. A clean, unemotional statement. Something I could send to anyone who asked. No rage, no pettiness. Just facts. A timeline. A list of actions. It read like a business case. Cold. Brutal. Irrefutable. Tara must have gotten wind of it because she tried calling me. 10 times. Eventually, I answered. Logan, she said, her voice cracking, we can't let this get out of hand. Oh, it's out of hand, I replied calmly. You made sure of that. That wasn't fair. I was just venting with Jessica. No, I said. You were planning. You were scheming. And now you're reaping. She sniffled. I still love you. You love the lifestyle, Tara. But you don't love me. She was silent. Then came the kicker. I made a mistake, she said softly. I want to fix it. I stared at the wall of my hotel room. For a second, just one flicker of a second, I almost believed her. That was her power. Her voice could drip with sincerity even when her heart was filled with betrayal. No, I said. You made a series of choices. This wasn't one night. This was deliberate. There's no fixing this. I hung up. I don't know what she did after that. Maybe she screamed. Maybe she threw something. Maybe she called Jerry and told him she got ambushed by reality. But I do know this. The game was no longer in her hands. And soon, neither would be the house, the money, or the sympathy. By this point, I'd iced Tara out, torched her social image, and lawyered up so hard the courthouse coffee machine knew my order. But there was one piece left on the board that needed dealing with. My dear brother Jerry. See, Jerry hadn't reached out since the diner disaster. Maybe he thought Tara would come crawling to him, and they'd ride off into the sunset in his busted Camry with the mismatched hubcaps. Or maybe, and this is more likely, he realized he'd hitched his wagon to a woman whose idea of forever was 2 months and a checking account. Either way, I wasn't done with him yet. So I set a little trap. I booked a ride from a burner account through the taxi app Jerry worked for. The pickup location? A hotel near the airport. The destination? My house. I knew he'd take the bait. Tara was still technically staying at the house, against my lawyer's advice, and Jerry would jump at the chance to see her alone. Sure enough, 6:14 p.m., a silver Camry rolled up. I wasn't home, but the investigator I hired was. He filmed the whole thing. Jerry pulling up, walking up the steps, checking if the door was unlocked, then letting himself in like he was checking on his own laundry. He stayed for 42 minutes. When he came out, he had a duffel bag. You want to guess whose initials were on it? Yeah, mine. Later that night, I got the footage, handed it to my lawyer, and filed a report for unauthorized entry and theft. It wasn't about pressing charges, it was about establishing a pattern. Tara had let him in. She'd violated the occupancy agreement. Jerry had removed property without permission. It was all building the case. The next day, we hit them with it. Cease and desist order for Jerry. Eviction notice for Tara. And a subpoena for both of them regarding the financial discrepancies I was now attaching Jerry to as a conspirator. My phone rang within the hour. It was Tara. What the hell are you doing, Logan? She snapped. You're ruining both our lives. No, I said, calmly. I'm documenting both your choices. If that ruins your lives, maybe you should have made better ones. You don't have to do this. We can fix this. You keep saying we like it still exists. She went quiet, then tried a new approach. Jerry's breaking down. He's scared. He didn't mean to take the bag, he thought it was his. Then maybe you should buy luggage that doesn't have my initials embroidered on it. She huffed. You're enjoying this, aren't you? No, I said, standing by the window, watching the rain come down. I'm reclaiming this. You took enough. I'm just setting the scales right. I hung up. A few hours later, Jerry texted me. One word. Sorry. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Jerry's part in this was over. After the trap was sprung, the investigator handed me a beautiful dossier, a crisp, time-stamped, high-resolution catalog of Jerry's burglary cosplay and Tara's role as accessory-in-chief. Armed with that, my lawyer scheduled the mediation hearing. That's where property, finances, and divorce terms would be hashed out before dragging things into full-blown court. Tara showed up wearing a white blouse like she was auditioning for sympathy. Jerry came too, weirdly enough, sat in the back like a guilty golden retriever. We were in a bland office conference room with sad carpeting and a complimentary fruit tray that no one touched. My lawyer, Raymond, cool-headed guy, opened the folder. Let's begin, he said, sliding over a copy of the prenup. Tara glanced down at it and froze. You're actually enforcing that? She asked, her voice rising like I'd just stabbed her in the back. Yep, I said. Funny how contracts suddenly matter, huh? For context, my prenup wasn't just solid. It was designed by a guy who treats emotional risk like a hostile takeover. If one partner was unfaithful, provably unfaithful, they walked away with 20% of joint assets. No alimony. No spousal support. Simple. Elegant. Ruthless. Tara blinked. You can't prove that. Raymond tapped the folder again. We have video, audio, statements, financial records. And this, he slid over a signed affidavit from your boyfriend admitting the affair. On record. Would you like to contest the evidence in front of a judge? Tara's face flushed crimson. She looked over at Jerry, who looked like he wanted to melt into the wall. She whispered, You gave him a statement? Jerry shrugged helplessly. I didn't know he'd use it like that. I almost laughed. Raymond went on. We're also seeking restitution for the secret equity loan she pulled from the house and financial damages for unauthorized property removal. The mediator asked Tara's lawyer if she wanted to dispute any of it. Tara's lawyer looked like she was trying not to scream. No, she said. We'll accept the terms, provided Tara can remain in the house until the official sale. Raymond turned to me. Your call, Logan. I leaned back. Thought about it. Thought about all the lies. The plans. The smug glances when she thought I was in the dark. Then I smiled. No, I want her out in 10 days. Tara gasped. Where am I supposed to go? I looked at her like a man who's been carrying firewood through a storm and finally dropped it all at her feet. Call Jerry, I said. Maybe you two can split a studio. The room went quiet. Even the fruit tray seemed uncomfortable. 10 minutes later, it was over. She signed the agreement with trembling hands. I walked out lighter than I'd felt in months. Outside, Jerry followed me. Logan, man. I didn't mean for this to happen. It just happened. I turned slowly, looked him in the eyes. Everything you have, I said, you owe to people like me giving you second chances. You just used your last one. Then I got in my car and drove away. So, 10 days after mediation, Tara was supposed to vacate the house. We had a sheriff's escort on standby, movers on the clock, and an agreed handoff schedule. You think it went smoothly? Of course not. I get a call from my realtor that morning. Hey, Logan, there's a bit of a situation at the property. That situation was Tara standing on the front lawn in a robe and slippers, crying in front of the neighbors. holding a box of wedding photos and dramatically clutching them to her chest like she was auditioning for a country music video. I rolled up 20 minutes later, and there she was, makeup streaked, mascara like war paint, standing on our front step like she was waiting for me to sweep her back into some delusional version of reality where none of this happened. She saw me and immediately started in. "Logan, please. Don't make me leave like this. This house, this was our life." I stayed quiet. The sheriff behind me didn't. "Ma'am, you were given notice. We can give you 15 minutes to collect essentials. Then the rest will be packed by the movers." "But he's my husband," she yelled, pointing at me like I was the villain in a soap opera. I finally spoke. "Ex-husband. You made sure of that." She stepped closer. "We could still fix it. I've been thinking about therapy. About us. Maybe this is what we needed to rebuild." I held up a hand. "Stop." She froze. "I gave you every chance. You burned every bridge. You lied. You schemed. This isn't a second chance, Tara. This is the consequences." She looked around. Neighbors peeking through curtains. Old Mr. Evans from next door shaking his head. Her tears dried up fast. Her eyes went cold. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "You think you're winning? You're alone. No woman wants to sign up for your bitterness and control." "Stop," I said again. "You're embarrassing yourself. Just leave with what little dignity you haven't torched." She stared for a moment, then said, "I kid you not. Jerry was right. You never appreciated me." I blinked. "He lives in his car, Tara." She stormed inside, muttering something about suing me for emotional damages. Spoiler, she didn't. Her lawyer wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. 30 minutes later, her car was packed. The locks were changed. That night, I sat on the porch. Just me and my dogs at my feet. The sky was clear, the silence refreshing. And I felt peace. Not joy, not victory, just peace. 3 weeks had passed since Tara's Oscar-worthy meltdown on the front lawn. The house was cleaned out, staged, and already getting offers. I was staying in a new place, smaller, simpler, but mine. And then came the message. From Jerry. "Hey bro, just wanted to say I'm sorry again. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. Also, do you think Mom will invite me to Christmas this year?" Let me break this down. He gets involved with my wife. Gets caught. Teams up with her to try and squeeze money out of me. And now wants to know if Mom will still give him a stocking and a slice of pie. I stared at my phone for a good minute. Then I typed one word. No. Blocked. Done. I was tired. You don't come out of something like this swinging. You crawl out, shake off the dirt, and rebuild. As for Tara, she moved in with a friend. Not Jerry. That thing collapsed faster than a Jenga tower. Last I heard, she tried dating some guy who works at the same yoga studio she never actually went to. She posted a quote the other day. "Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself." Someone commented, "Did you find yourself in your ex's brother's car?" I didn't write that, but I smiled. I'm still standing. Stronger, a little scarred, and much wiser. And next Christmas, I'll be sitting at my mom's table, carving turkey. Jerry can enjoy his drive shift. Thanks for riding this insane roller coaster with me.